in the business world, maybe in general, emotions have a poor reputation. There's a tendency to view people who exhibit emotions as soft, while the ability to remove emotion from a situation is seen as strong and a desired leadership quality. Yet the reality is that every rational decision and thought is intertwined with our emotions. Our emotional response to a situation is so intertwined with what appears to be logical response that we often don't even notice our own emotional reactions. In this video, we're going to talk about what you can do to navigate the emotional experience of change, whether it's with you and your experiences, your employees' experience, or colleagues' experiences. We're going to explore why you need to understand the emotional response and really feel capable of navigating through those emotions. Change is an emotional experience. It's an emotional experience for every human being. And when you as a leader can comfortably and confidently navigate through those emotions, you will have a distinct advantage. One of my favorite authors on emotions is Susan David and her book, Emotional Agility. And in it, she talks about our emotional system, those sensations like fear, anxiety, joy, exhilaration are part of a neurochemical system that has been uniquely designed to help us navigate life's complexities. The problem then is because we, especially leaders, are often taught to remove emotion, to dismiss the emotions out of situations. This powerful built-in guidance system gets ignored, or worse, dismissed. So in times of change, in upheaval, when you and your employees are struggling with fear, anxiety, the uncertainty, all sorts of difficult emotions that can happen during change because you aren't aware of how your emotions influence your decisions, your thinking, and your actions, we don't know how to use them. And you end up working through change without access to this built-in powerful system and all of the tools that come with it. The failure or the unwillingness to acknowledge and work with emotions during change can then negatively impact your change initiatives and the health of your organization. That's why learning to use this powerful system, our emotional system, to help enable healthier and stronger organizations is so powerful. So what are some things that you need to do in order to leverage this built-in natural system? Well, the first thing is we need to recognize its power, that every response and every decision is so intertwined with our emotions that we don't often even notice our emotional reactions in what appears to be a logical response. Another author that I enjoy is Lisa Feldman, and she's the author of How Emotions Are Made. And she says that the human brain is anatomically structured so that we cannot act or make any decisions without our internal body sensations. No matter what we tell ourselves about how rational we are, the way we are built anatomically, neurochemically, the way our body feels will influence what you feel, what actions, what decisions, and what thoughts you have. So understanding that we can't make a rational or logical thought without emotion is a game changer for organizational change and leadership because it shifts the conversation. It shifts our conversation from viewing people as either emotional or rational to recognizing that all of us as human beings are emotional and rational. And to be rational, we need to take control and recognize our emotions. Some of you may be a little skeptical. You may be thinking, and I've heard this from leaders that we initially start to work with, we don't have time for all this touchy-feely stuff. Part of the reason for that is because we've been socialized to separate out or ignore the emotional elements, particularly in business. But keep this in mind. Just because you ignore your emotions, whether it's during change or in other situations, it doesn't mean the emotion goes away. And the more that you ignore those emotions, the more those emotions will drive your results, but the less control you will have over the outcome. Edgar Schein, who's professor emeritus at MIT, notes that when we deny, ignore, or take our emotions for granted, we short-circuit our response. We can rush in and take action that is not helpful or even destructive. We may dismiss or underestimate the situation and not take the appropriate action. For example, let's say you announce a big change, something potentially contentious. Maybe it's like requiring all of your employees to work back in the office after an extended period of virtual or hybrid work. During your announcement, you happen to notice that one of your employees, she may be one of your top employees, looks like she has a scowl on her face, she's whispering, and she's kind of talking to some of the other people around her. Now, in that moment, even before that you are consciously aware of what's happening, your brain is assessing, interpreting, and deciding what that situation means and how to respond. If you respond without acknowledging your emotion, what you're feeling, those bodily sensations, or checking and making sure that that unconscious assessment that your employee is in fact scowling in reaction to what you are saying is correct, then the risk of making a situation worse or responding inappropriately is heightened. And this sequence of events happens so quickly that it can appear rational. And then we start a cycle. Because you believe your response was rational and your conscious mind is now engaged because you're consciously aware of the decisions that you're making, you will look for more evidence to support the interpretation of your initial unconscious response, thus creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that reinforces and entrenches an emotional response disguised as rational. It's helpful when we think about this to recognize that our human emotions aren't pre-programmed areas of our brain that event triggers. They are body sensations designed to signal us to pay attention because something in our environment is different or important. And we construct the emotions based on that information we receive from our body. A little raise in our heartbeat, some perspiration, a gut sensation. Maybe we feel it in our chest. And then based on that and our learned and unconscious beliefs, we create meaning to what those sensations are. That's why in different situations, the raised heartbeat and the nervousness can mean one thing if you're walking down a dark alley, and it can mean a completely different thing if you're about to meet your new fiance's parents for the first time. So when we can begin to recognize the small, subtle shifts that you feel in your body and your general awareness, and you can bring those into your conscious awareness, we can move from just reacting to beginning to interact with the situation in the present moment. For example, if we think about that employee who was scowling while you were introducing the change, instead of automatically responding in that moment, if you recognize, and it can just take a couple of seconds to pause and recognize, I'm feeling a little annoyed. That's what this feeling is in the gut that I'm experiencing. We can pause there, put it up into our cognitive and rational thinking and go, I need to speak with her later and find out what's going on. And then potentially avoiding an unpleasant confrontation and creating the resistance that you're going to need to manage later on. The second thing that is helpful in order to take control and navigate the complexities of yours and others' emotional experience during change is to be able to create a vocabulary that allows you to talk about it, recognizing and labeling in a few short words or phrases has been shown to have a calming effect. And it kicks in our executive center of the brain. Now, this is not the same as venting, nor does it condone disrespectful or inappropriate behavior. In fact, it can often prevent that because the ability to state or acknowledge an emotion can circumvent that type of behavior. Instead of acting out unconsciously that frustration or anger or uncertainty in a whole host of different behaviors, if I can have a language that says, I'm really scared right now, or I'm frustrated because things aren't moving the way they are supposed to, or whatever that emotional feeling is, then we can take a step back from it and go, okay, so what can I do and what decisions can I make? Which allows us to take more control of our reactions and use our emotions to create a response that's more productive. And finally, you need to create a safe space for your team to express their emotions. Give them the opportunity to share their thoughts and feelings and respond in a supportive and empathetic manner. This isn't therapy, and it isn't all of the touchy-feely, but all of those emotions are there and they're driving everything that happens within your organization. So when people are given the opportunity to feel heard and understood, you can foster a sense of connection and trust within your team. And you can then use those emotions in taking control of what happens next. Most of the emotions that we experience today are based on implicit memory, learned behavior, and unconscious beliefs. So allowing people the space to talk about their emotions brings that to the surface. And many of the responses that you can be seeing are based on automatic, unconscious response based on what's happened previously. And I've done a video about the importance of organizational muscle memory and how your history affects change. And it's tied very much to many of the responses and the emotional experience that your employees can have during change. I encourage you to check that video out. Understanding emotions as the foundation of every action is critical to navigating the emotional experience of change. I would say it's critical to navigating change. You can't remove the emotion. So learning to understand it, being able to tap into it is so critical. We ignore emotions at our peril. By accepting and acknowledging that emotions are an integral part of our human experience, labeling them, naming them, and creating a space for your team to express their emotions, you can navigate the emotional landscape of change. You can enable healthier and stronger change. And when you do, you can develop an organization with people who no longer fear or resist change. And you can help the organization use change to its advantage. I hope you found this video helpful. Please comment below if there's another topic that you'd really like me to address around organizational change. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.